In this video, we're going to talk about vector graphics in PIXLR. And before we do that, we can already see some effects that we can apply to simple images that are similar to the ones that we can use with vector graphics. So I'm gonna open up a recent file here that we created in another video. And this was a yellow tree, and we created like a gray background or black and white background. So when you work with images, so first of all, let's unlock it. So when you unlock the image, you will find this kind of a frame around the image. So if I scale this down a little bit in order to see outside the limits or the borders of the image, then I can start to work with some effects. So I want to also apply a page background. So let's see something here. Okay, let's use this one. And so if I go to filter, now you remember that in the last video we stopped here, we created a lot of effects using these filters, and we didn't use these ones, this section here. Now these ones are to add, you can see here, kind of a path around the image, so it's gonna create like a frame in many different ways. Now you can use this, for example, to add an inner glow, but this can become also a frame, and also we can do outer glow, which is pretty similar but goes the other way. It's gonna go in the outside. Okay, and then we have, now remember that all of this is gonna be transformed into pixels, so this is not vector graphics again. Let's go back, Ctrl Z, and then we have outline, which is going to create a path around, or a stroke. And this is similar, again, to vector graphics, to what we usually do. For example, in Illustrator, we can create a stroke, and you can also use it as an outline only. Okay, let's delete. And also drop shadow. So you can create this like picture effect, like Polaroid. And you have the blur and the offset for that shadow. That's it, really simple. Okay, and now let's finish with the last one, which is the bevel, which is going to create an actual like 3D frame around, and you can choose the highlight color and the other color, the shadow color, and the opacity as well. Okay, so these are pretty basic effects that you can add to a simple raster image. Now remember that raster images are made by pixels, and they are different from vector graphics. So in this video, we're gonna talk about frame here and shapes and text, which are the part concerning the vector graphics here in PIXLR. So let me show you how you can use frame. I'm gonna go back to the home page, and I want to create a composition. So I'm going to use a template right now. I'm gonna scroll down, and usually when you see other templates here that you can find in PIXLR, well, they are a combination of vector graphics, raster images, text, and so on. So this is what you're usually gonna do when you want to work with all the different tools here. Now I want to use this template here, which is called Simple Collage. You can get it from here. You can go into the templates and go all the way to the right and click on Simple Collage. And I'm going to use the first one. Now it doesn't matter, you can choose any one of those. So you can see here we don't have any image, we just have a set of empty slots with this plus icon. Well, those empty slots are actually frames. Now a frame, it's actually an empty object, so you need to fill it with something. So you double click, and I'm going to select here the first image. Now let's proceed here, double click and select another image, and just wait for the image to be loaded. Double click to get inside the frame, click and drag with the left mouse to adjust the image. So you can see here that we are basically defining the part of the image that we want to see. This is similar to cropping, but when we crop everything that's inside our canvas. Here we can decide what to crop of an image. So instead of placing the entire image, we can just decide which part we want. If we double click, we can also scale this up. So we can choose the only part that can be seen. Now this is a really interesting tool. So I'm gonna proceed here just filling out these empty slots with images and adjusting. Now you can do that yourself to, I don't know, create a collage of your holidays or something like that. And there you go, I'm gonna adjust that. And you can see the snaps here are gonna help you a lot to place the various images in different ways. Okay, now we can also customize these collages, or essentially the frames. If we click here, we can click and drag, and this is gonna scale it down, and you can make it aligned. When you see it, that is gonna snap. Now you can see we have some extra space here, but to scale it not uniformly, I can go here and change the aspect ratio from fixed to free, or else I can click on this little locker, and now I can stretch this in order to create another size. And this is the actual size at the moment, so you can see the size. You can also rotate, you can add animation, but we're gonna see animation later. And you have here some extra options for the guides, snap to the guides, and so on. So this is, you know, some secondary. Now again, let's double click there and let's add something else. Perhaps this one here. Okay, now we can also create our own frames. So, well, I'm just gonna finish with this one. Let me choose this one here. Okay, so I have an empty part here, so I can create my own frame by clicking here. So you can click on add frame. The basic frame is this square frame, but you can also change that. So now you can also go here and well, let's first add an image again, and we can toggle that. So we can go to the image adjustment and the frame adjustment. Now let's delete this. So the delete key, now every time you're gonna add a frame, is gonna appear here. You can also click here and add a frame from here. It's gonna create a frame, but this time you can see, well, it's always different shapes, but if you want to adjust it, remember to select it like this. Now you can adjust it and go back to the frame if you want to work with the frame tools. Now you also have different shapes here, which can be really strange shapes sometimes. So I like to create an art. Okay, so I'm gonna place it here, and you can see it's pretty much like deformed. So if I want to adjust it, let's go back to this one and let's set this to free, and let's make something more, well, a nicer heart. I'm gonna place it right there. Double click and I can place a picture right inside that heart. So, well, this is vector graphics, but only in part, because only the frame is vector graphic. The rest is pixels. It's image, it's standard image, standard raster image. But if we scale this up, you can scale it up and down. The edge, they're never gonna lose quality, but the image inside, since it's composed by pixels, can lose quality, can become blurred. You can see the pixels, and so you can do an extreme scaling only with the vector graphics, not with the images. This is the essential difference between vector graphics and images. Okay, so again, you can choose different shapes. You can also apply some styles. And again, this is similar to the ones that we've seen just with the simple image. So you can add a stroke around and define here a different size. You can add a shadow and change the effect of the blurriness there. Let's scroll down a little bit. You can change the distance, direction. and opacity of the shadow, and so on. So you can play with those. Okay, so looks okay. Now I'm gonna change the background here. I want something different, so I'm gonna go to page and go to page background, set up another color, maybe a red, like romantic composition. And well, let's talk about shapes now. So you have frames, you have shapes. Now you have two ways you can create shapes. You have design and draw. Let's start with design. So here you can basically create some standard shapes like the square, or we have rounded rectangle, and you can define the radius of the rounded corners there. And you have the circle. Now if you create a circle or shift, you can make it a perfect circle. Now you can see every time it's creating a new layer. So the beauty of this is that then you can play around with different like blending modes, and you can create really nice and strange effects. You can go there and play around with this. Just gonna go really random here, but just to show you that you can interact with the image. So vector graphics and images can work together. And we have like custom shapes here, again, which are similar to the one that we already saw before. So I'm gonna create more hearts. There you go. Now when you want to, let's say, get all these different layers together, you can select all of those. So we can select all these different R's, and we can make it just one. So right click and right click, and I'm gonna, well, if I click flatten image, it's gonna create one single image with everything, but we don't want that. So the other way is to right click here and merge visible. But again, we need to turn off the other before, or we can also use the right click and do the merge down. So it's gonna merge it to the next layer, which is gonna be below the one that you are selecting. So you have different ways you can compact different shapes together, different layers. Okay, so we have all the arts now in one single layer, all the shapes actually. So we can now work this as a unique layer, and we can apply here some effect. Okay, we can also duplicate that and move it around, and maybe change again the blending mode with something else. And let's bring down the opacity. So you can see you can really play around with all these different tools here. Now you can see we lost also the vector shape part, so the vector graphic part. So once we convert this into pixels, they're gonna be pixels, they're not gonna be vectors anymore, so we cannot modify them. Now you can also change here the feel of the shape if you want. So let's say that I'm creating like this kind of a drop, and so this is the feel, but we can also add an outline, which is gonna be the path or the stroke. It's called in Illustrator, this is called the stroke. And again, we have the shadows, distance, and all those things that we already saw before. So vector graphics are composed essentially by fill and stroke. Now in the fill, we can also change this to a gradient. Let me move it here so you can see it better. And we can make this a pattern as well, which is really interesting because these are like transparent patterns, and they can be applied to do really many more effects. So you just need to play around with this. You have the scale, you have the direction. So, well, there's really no limit on the creativity here. And also here you can change opacity. You can customize these gradients by clicking there and adding new colors. So you can do whatever gradient you have in mind. And you can do linear or radial. And you can also adjust the direction of the linear. Okay, so really have fun with that, because there's a lot to discover. Now I'm gonna delete this, and let's finish with the text, which again, it's another vector graphics basically. So you click there, you have some presets if you want to start somewhere. So for example here I can, well, let's place this, doesn't matter, it's just an example. Okay, and well, it's not so too visible, so I can go here. Maybe I can right click and rasterize the layer. So once it's rasterized, again, it's gonna, you cannot scale it without losing quality anymore, but you can add some of these filters. Now let me see why. Let's select it with this. Okay, so it was like a combination, so I can select just one of that, and then I can go there and apply whatever I want, like shadow or whatever. Okay, and we can also create our text. So if you click there, click add text. Let's call these Happy Thoughts PIXLR without the E actually. So when you want to change that, you're gonna double click to underline, and then you can select many different fonts. And I don't really know here, maybe, well, let's oh, this is a premium font, so you cannot use really anything but most of them. And I'm gonna double click, and I'm gonna increase the size, well, not too much. There you go. And change the color. Now you can see it's getting the first color there where the foreground color is. So let's make this maybe darker, I don't know. And let's move it right here. Okay, it's asking me to, if I want to create more text, but no, I want to still go there, so I need to select it, double click. Now another thing you can do is deselect, sorry, block the other layers when they get into the way. So for example, if you want to select something and another thing is getting into the way, you go there, right click and lock. That's it. So this shouldn't be there to disturb you anymore. So okay, I can select this just to show you some extra features. You can see here these changes. So if you want some extra text options, you need to go to the text tool and select this, double click, and you can re-edit anytime. Here in the formats, you can create some space between the lines if you have more than one line, or to the text, and then you have here italic, uppercase, bold. And here you have some nice styling that you can do. So you can curve your text, so you can make it curvy, and you can decide how, circle, half, and you can also choose another way here, so you can like flip it the other way. You can space it with half circle, whole circle, arc, and just, well, it's just a matter of playing here. Background, I think this is also nice, because if you add a nice background, then you can punch out, so it's gonna create like the opposite. And you can also change here the offset. Now it depends how big the text box is, so you can also change that. Now I'm gonna deactivate the background, and then again we have the outline just as we did before. So same thing. You can increase the size, you You can do punch out here as well. You can also affect here the distance and, well, just again play around with all of this stuff, and shadows again. Nothing new. Okay. Well, I think this is a pretty nice composition, but I believe, well, that you can do better. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to support us, you can subscribe into the channel. You can also give us a little more support if you join the channel as a supporter. So you can also see other videos and video courses in the channel if you want to support us. And write your comments, questions, suggestions. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next.